Hello, beautiful people. This is Life Coach Sophie with yet another episode of the Truth Channel. And today I'm going to talk about a topic that is really important when it comes to my own life and the lives of my clients, because this is about fear. And fear is our biggest enemy when it comes to realizing our dream life, when it comes to going for what you really care about and feeling scared shitless. And it is the main thing that is not allowing us to live the life that was meant for us. So as every topic, but this one especially, it is very important to me also because fear used to be my biggest, fattest, number one enemy in the world. As many of you might know by now, I used to suffer from anxiety disorder. And in Dutch, it's called angststoornis, which means it's like you have a disorder of fear. And so I always felt that really described it well, because anxiety, yes, it's anxiety, but very much it's fear. I mean, fear is even worse. And it literally stops you from moving forward. I remember being so limited because everything I thought about that I wanted to do, I felt held back by this fear that just always crept in. And in the end, I mean, it was a disorder because it was so out of out of range. Like, it was so much that it really stopped me from even functioning. Like, I was teaching English at the time, and I was still studying, and I had to take a break from my studying because I couldn't manage. I couldn't, like, devastated as fear, because it was fear and it kept me so stuck. And so, like many people say that have had a disorder or a disease even, in the end, it was a blessing for their lives. And it has turned out to be a blessing for me and all my clients and the people that are following me, because I've been able to take fear and see it for what it is. And I've learned how to not let it stop me anymore. And I think that if I knew this back then, when I was stuck in the anxiety disorder, it wouldn't have lasted 7 years, and I wouldn't have had to be on the antidepressants for that long, and I wouldn't have stayed in a situation that wasn't making me happy. But hey, we need to live our own journeys, and we need to learn the lesson. I still wanted to find a way, like, how to get rid of it. Like, how I always thought, I was convinced that I had to get rid of my fear in order to live my life and to be who I am. And that thought was what was keeping me stuck. And if you're watching this and you're like, how does that work? I mean, isn't fear stopping you? So doesn't that mean, you want to get rid of your fear? No, it doesn't. And it's what keeps many people stuck, because it's like thinking, I first need to feel ready. I first need to get rid of my fear. I first need to feel super confident before I actually move out of my comfort zone in the direction of what I truly want. But I'm telling you, it isn't like that, because you're never ready. And realizing that has really opened up all the opportunities in my life that I have said yes to, and has really propelled me to a way higher level than what I used to gravitate on. Because I realized that my freedom was in my fear. And so I learned many things through courses and, doing mindfulness and seeing a psychologist and doing many other online courses and speaking to people, because I was determined to understand this and to, get to the other side of it. And my wanting to understand it and to figure it out with my mind made it even worse, because I see myself as a very intelligent person. And that is a great thing, but not when you're stuck in anxiety disorder. Because what you're doing is you want to fight your brain with your brain. Well, chaos ensues, of course. So it wasn't helping me trying to understand the trigger or trying to think away my worry. And it felt very productive because, when you're worrying, like, okay, I'm doing something about it, but actually you're not. You're just going around in circles, wasting precious time of your life. So the connection keeps on shutting off. Let me see what happens if I turn on the Wi-Fi. I'm sorry about this. So what I learned was that you can do things with fear. The realization that I could do things with my fear really changed it all around for me, because I didn't have to wait until I had gotten rid of the fear before I actually did things. And this is, to me, the biggest secret to life, because it means that you can do whatever you want to do, and as long as you're able to hold the fear and take it with you on your journey, then you will get to wherever you want to go. And it has been like that for me, and I've even learned to embrace my fear and see it as a friend, which you're like, maybe, like, what is this? How is that even possible? Isn't it supposed to keep you stuck? Well, no, it's not when you learn how to approach it from a different perspective. And again, learning that has been the biggest liberation in my life, because, like I said, I was stuck in anxiety disorder, and I was fearful. I was a very fearful person. But the thing is that doesn't necessarily have to change before you actually do things. I'm still afraid about things sometimes, but I just change the way I look at my fear. And I don't give it the power that, I used to give it. I used to give my fear and my worry all the power in the world. I was like, okay, so you're here, well, let me fight you. And so being in the fight, I couldn't move beyond it. I couldn't do anything else than just fighting the worry and the fear. And so I was actually keeping myself stuck. But the courageous thing that I needed to do was being willing to feel the fear. And I think a very big thing in many cases and with many people is that we're afraid of our feelings. Like when we're overwhelmed with sadness or with grief or with anger or with, feelings of depression or anxiety or fear, we think we cannot handle that. And so we don't dare look it in the eye. And that is really, it comes down to us not trusting ourselves. But the moment that you get into a very deep and close relation with yourself, you will see that you can handle whatever comes your way because you will have yourself to fall back on. And so what happens with big feelings like fear, well, when you learn, you do need to learn some steps, and I explain them in my program, Take the Leap. But when you're able to observe the fear and not let it overwhelm you anymore and just take some distance, you can see it as, hey, this is just part of the journey. Let's see what it's trying to teach me. I've understood that fear is a signpost to freedom, because fear holds your values. The thing you fear most is what you care about most. So every time I feel fear about something now, I'm like, okay, I'm going in that direction. Not because I want to, make myself feel fear because I enjoy it. It's not like that. I know that the fear is just a feeling. And I don't see it as something that I should take too seriously anymore. See how powerful that is? If you won't give fear the power that it always used to have. And so, for example, before I went into town, I had to get some groceries, and I was at the vegetable shop. And there's this lady there that I really connect with, and she has, the shop. And we've been chatting a lot, and I was like, I'd like to, go out with her and, have a drink, up at tea or whatever. And I noticed that for me, asking that, her brother was there was another client, another customer, and I was like, it feels weird for me to ask this now. But I was like, I know that I care about creating a social life here in my new town in the Tuscan countryside, and I like this woman, and we've already talked about it, so I was like, I just take the leap and I just do it, and I just ask, and I don't stand here thinking about it for a very long time and then not doing it and then feeling sad about it and being angry with myself for not doing it. So I was like, just do it. Just take the leap. And I said, you know, are you free on Friday? You want to go out? She was like, oh yeah, that would be great. I will text you. That's how it went. And those are tiny little things. But if I had not done it, then I would have maybe had more time in which I wasn't able to socialize that much, right? So I'm taking care of myself by actually being like, okay, I know this feels a bit uncomfortable, but hey, I'm just going to jump in the pool anyway. It's always such a beautiful parallel, what do you call that? Symbol, metaphor, sorry. That is like jumping in a pool. You're like, it's cold, oh no, I'm going to put my toe in, oh my god, it's cold. And you stand there thinking about it for such a long time and nothing really happens. And then the moment you jump in, you're like, oh, it's fucking cold. And then you're like, hey, this is actually pretty great. And you enjoy being in the pool, and then at some point you just, you know, get out again. But then you will have, you know, had to suffer for just a split second instead of wasting a lot of time standing on the pool side and being like, you know, well, it's going to be cold. When you think about something that's unpleasant, you make it 10 times worse than it really is. And I think that when I got that, I was like, okay, I'm totally willing to suffer for that split second, feel that fear, feel that anxiety, feel that discomfort to get something much bigger out of it. And I'm no longer willing to put myself in this position in which I suffer by thinking about it. And that is taking responsibility for your own well-being. And so these are all techniques that have really changed my life around. And as you see, like I've just shared that, I still use them every day. Because, hey, you know, when you're living your dream life, it's not just like all of a sudden you're a unicorn and you're living on a cloud. It's like you're constantly committing to what you care about. You cannot go back because you know yourself that well that you can't lie to yourself and you just want to live your best life all the time. And that requires taking the leap all the time. The tiniest things, big things, being really open with your partner, you know, dealing with family stuff, making new friends, deciding to do another live for the Facebook page. You know, there are so many things that you constantly do, and it's about doing them, and not because you're like trying to do as many things as possible during the day, but just like, what action do I desire to take to get my life to the level I want it to be at? And that usually doesn't isn't the most comfortable or the easiest thing, because in order for you to change things, you need to do something different, right? That's what Einstein said as well. It's like pure madness is doing the same thing over and over again and expecting different results. So challenge yourself, put yourself out of that comfort zone and see what happens. You know, it's fun. At some point when you do it very often, it becomes fun. You're like, fear is just a feeling. I'm just gonna, you know, try again. And it's a practice ground, you know, and you can play with it. And the more you do things that are in alignment with who you truly are, the more you feel great within your skin and the less you care about what other people think. And I think that's what, in the end, true freedom feels like. So this is what's worked for me. It's worked for many of my clients. And I love teaching people these techniques because they are so liberating. So if you're interested, take a look at the link that I shared, and it shares, you know, everything about my online program. And there are 7 steps, and you even get 30 minutes with me, and we'll be chatting like this, in which I help you overcome your specific fear and help you get to the other side of it, which is your freedom. That's where you feel the exhilaration for life, when you're like, yes, I did it. That's that feeling when you're in the pool and you're like, oh, I jumped in and it's actually fucking great. That's possible for you. And these steps, I've lined them all up, and it's such a treasure vault. It's so incredibly valuable. And if you go and get it in 3 days, and you even get it at half price. So, I mean, what is easier than that? Go and take care of yourself and in your dreams, and learn how to hold the fear and do it anyway, and create the life that you know is possible for you. So go and check it out in the link. I am looking forward to connecting with you and helping you take those leaps that you're dying to make. It is possible. I do it all the time, and you can do it too. Thank you so much for watching. I'm going to wish you a wonderful day from La Bella Toscana, and check in again with you super, super soon. Goodbye, everybody.